What's up guys, it's Chad here with G Reviews. I'm coming to you from my driveway today. Obviously if you've been following the channel, you know behind me is my 2020 Ram 2500 Power Wagon. Today I'm going to do what is called a chalk test. I'm going to tell you why you do a chalk test, and I'm going to walk you through the process of doing a chalk test right after this. For starters, let's talk about what a chalk test is and what it is used for. Alright, this truck behind me has factory tires. They're 33-inch Goodyear Duratracs. They're 285/70 R17s. Okay, and from the factory, alright, they're rated at 60 psi front, 65 in the rear. Now, if you ride in that truck with the max out PSI of 60 and 65, you're going to feel a little bump. Okay, it's going to be a little rough as soon as you go over a pothole or a bump. So I'm here to try to figure out exactly what PSI I want to run these tires at. Okay. Another thing is, a chalk test is not for an old worn out car that has all sorts of suspension issues, because it's not going to give you an accurate reading of what your tires need to be at. So if your tires are already wearing, the sides like camber might be out, caster might be out, or wearing in the center, it might be because your suspension's out. So this test is more for, let's say, a car that you know that the suspension is correct, you've already had an alignment done, and you're just trying to figure out what pressure to run your tires at, or if you're stepping up to a bigger size tire. Alright, things you're going to need for this test: you're going to need a tire pressure gauge, and you're going to need your kid's chalk. Now, my girls aren't going to be too mad if I use a piece of their chalk, because they have a whole bunch of extra. So let's get to the truck. If you are running your factory tires, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up your driver's door, and there's always going to be a sticker on the door jamb. Okay. Now I'm going to turn this sideways. I don't think it's going to work correctly on the actual video, but if you see here, the front per ram is recommended at 60, and the rears are rated at 65. The tires in question here are 285/70 R17 Goodyear Wrangler Duratrac tires. Max PSI on these is 65 pounds. Okay, per ram they want you to fill these fronts to 60 and the rears to 65. I had to air up to get them to factory spec, because I already had aired them down a little bit just for comfort. So let's go to the chalk test. All you're going to want to do is take your piece of chalk. This happens to be a round piece of chalk, but you're going to end up making it flat. Okay, so what you want to do is you're going to want to take and rub the top of your tread. Okay, I'd pick a couple of blocks, a couple of lugs, and go ahead and get a good section. So, because I want as much tread on there as possible to do the test, I'm going to do 3 outside lugs, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do a section of the inside lugs. Alright, there's that. Just make sure you get it all to where you can tell if something got rubbed off or not. There we go. Here is the front tire all chalked, and here is the rear tire all chalked. So let's get to the test. I obviously drove the truck forward and backwards in my driveway. Okay, I'm gonna show you both results. Okay, now I'm not sure if you can see this or not, but this one's full PSI of 60 according to the door jamb. Okay, and the only place where there's still heavy chalk is going to be just on the very outer edge of maybe this lug and maybe the corresponding lug on the other side. Okay, so that tells you that that one's pretty good. All right, now I'm going to come over to the rear tire. I don't know if you can tell on this camera or not by the light, but there's still a lot of chalk still on the very outer edge of these lugs. This one and this one and this one. Okay, so I'm going to try and drop the rear tire 5 pounds to the 60 to see if that does any better. Alright, back to 60. Let's re-chalk it and rerun the test. Re-chalked it, let's run it. After the second test, obviously I didn't re-chalk the front tire, but if you see this, only the very edge that's actually kind of angled downward is not getting hit. So this front's at 60 pounds, they're going to be wearing nice and even. All right, let's go to the rear. All right, it is a similar story with the rear tires. However, I'm still not getting quite the edge. I don't know if you can see back here also. Yeah, it's just about, it's a 1/4 inch of the very end lug. So we're going to take it down a little bit again and see where we're at. Don't know if you'll be able to tell this or not by the video, but essentially what you're trying to do is make sure that all the tread is touching the roadway. Okay. Well, that concludes my chalk test. What I have learned on these factory Wrangler Duratrac tires, factory truck, factory suspension, I'm going to be running 60 in the front, 55 in the rear. That is per the chalk test. It chalk tests out everything correctly. However, being that the rears are going to be 55, my tire pressure monitoring system is going to kick on every time I start the truck. So to counterbalance that, if I bump it up to 58 PSI, it'll not cut off my factory tire pressure monitor system. So what I'm going to do, instead of having to have the annoying ding beep at me every time I start the truck, I'm going to run 60 in the front, 58 in the rear. Sure, you can run 30 pounds on it if you want, but you have to remember that when airing your tires up or down, you have to balance comfort and you have to balance tread life. I could run this truck at 30 pounds and it would be super comfortable and super plush. However, my tire's gonna wear out real fast, okay? And my fuel economy is going to be terrible because you're pretty much just rolling on, you know, pillows. It's not gonna be very efficient. So you have to balance those two things. Now just remember that when you're looking at the tread across the top, it's like, let's say you have a 12 by 12 wooden beam, okay? Let's say you have 4 guys underneath the beam holding it up, all right? Now, do you want all 4 guys to be putting equal pressure on the beam? Or do you want the center 2 guys to be doing all the work and having the last 2 guys just kind of like, I'm not gonna hold it? The answer is you want all 4 of those guys to be holding the equal amount of weight. So, adjusting your tire pressure is going to allow the actual weight of the truck to be pushed on evenly in all the tread blocks. Or if you have too much air, it's going to be just the top, just the center lugs. If you have too little, it's going to be all the outer lugs. Okay, so you want that nice fine balance. So doing the chalk test on any vehicle it is going to help that. Figure out what you want to do with tire pressure. Alright guys, thank you for watching and tuning into G Reviews. If you like what you saw, like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, have a good weekend.